clap for those NHS workers and key workers and people who keep people alive.
Yeah, okay, we're live now. Here we go. Just keep clapping.
We're just going to keep going. That's it. Like a clap. And keep going.
Don't even know if it's live.
That's it. The LOC does the NHS. That's it.
I can't tell if we're live or not.
I was going to clap regardless. That's it. Because I mean,
it's got to work.
That's it. Absolutely. So congratulations to all of you healthcare
like we're
workers.
streaming, so
That's it. Was that a minute?
Oh,
it was a minute.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
That's good.
Managed to catch it. Yeah, we've got the stream now. There we go. We're ready to go. Last step. Share. No, don't report myself. That would be bad. We will.
This is fluid as always.
Yeah, I just wait. I know where your picture is gone. We need to bring you back, Chris. What am I doing? There we go.
I mean, you can hear me.
You're back now, right? We've copied the link. Sharing the link into here. And if you click on that, you should also be able to see us, and we can see the comments and everything, and it's all amazing. And just checking on the stream, I can still hear myself. Yep, it's on a bit of a delay, but it's fine. Cool.
Still good.
I think we are ready.
Yeah.
Jingle. Can I play the jingle through my computer? I think I can.
Please do. That'll be good.
Do it. This is the one step that we have yet to cross because I didn't know how to get desktop audio, but now I do. It's marvelous.
There is a quality byproduct of all this.
Intro music, no idea what it's going to sound like, but let's find out.
The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't take this home.
Phil, don't know when it's
credit to the guy, he's always
no,
mentioned very well.
Yeah.
He is a shocking person. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-event.
My life from Rashad Mendenhall.
I'm a tag jack! I'm a fucking tag!
Oh dear.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report, the first of the season. I am joined once again by the co-host himself, Chris Leach, in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. How's it going, Chris Leach?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well. These are quite weird times we live in, but hey, we make it work. We bring some quality programming to you, and
for sure.
however many people who are here to watch us occasionally. It's great to be back and be able to talk to you on what is quite an interesting night. It has to be said. Not only just for us, but I don't know about you, but I'm hyped. I know Nate's hyped. I know I'm gonna be getting up at 1 a.m. for the first round. It is. It's draft. It's draft day.
Yes, it sure is. And as Chris said, draft is tonight at 1 a.m. If you do have Sky Sports, I've got the build up right now on my screen. And rounds 2 through 7 are the next couple of days as well. And I believe, unlike normal, rounds 2 and 3 usually start at 7 p.m. Eastern time, midnight our time. But because of the whole situation, it's actually starting, I think, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we even get a bit more bonus draft tomorrow and Saturday. But enough about that draft, because we all know what you're here for, our 3/4 listeners. That is the LOC draft order reveal Magnifico. That's what we're all here for. You can see on the screen already. Don't know about you, Chris, if you managed to open it or not, but I have the teams on the left here in reverse order of standings last season with a number attached to them. We are going to hit this random number generator until it spits out a number that we can pluck, and we will do in reverse order. Whatever is first will be 12 going upwards by that. But of course, before all that, Chris, what do we like on the LOC report before everything else?
We like to do the news.
We do. Here it is. If if you can't guess by our silence and pausing now, we can't actually hear the jingles, but you can, and that's the main thing, dear listeners.
That is.
So, biggest news, obviously. Please do comment as you go along. It is right in front of me. I can read out your comments, and please do interact with the show. But news, I've actually lazily just written the news down on the screen here, which you can see. Could my Facebook notifications please stop popping up over Chris? I'm just going to read them out. So a new venture ... is the first item on our thing, and it's not actually anything to do with the LOC. There have been a lot of new LOC. Rip headphone users. Apologies. Like I said, we cannot hear it, so we have no idea.
So turn it down. Turn yourself down.
So new venture, not for the LOC. We've had a lot of new ventures recently, but for myself and Tom, because we have decided to create an American football board game.
Okay.
And it basically started as, let's create a game simulator board game, to which Tom and I involved it too. Let's bring in the other aspects like draft, free agency, yada yada into it. To which it's now evolved to, we're not playing any games, but it's going to be an awesome like team owner manager type board game. All the rules are written for it. We're just getting to component creation stage, and hopefully we'll be able to share it with you all.
Love it. That sounds excellent.
Distant future, yeah. So that's the biggest news item. Of course, our next item is this is the first podcast in 2 months. The last time we were with you, we were talking about Chris's title victory, no less, and some other stuff has obviously happened since then. So we just wish and hope you are all doing well in these trying times, of course, as well. Some important dates for you. The AGM is on the 10th of May. Please do not miss that, as that obviously shapes the future of our league. And as you'll see in the event on Facebook, there are quite a few articles for us to talk about already. So you can take a peek at those if you want beforehand. The draft is on the 29th of August this year, not quite the latest possible one, but it's near the end of the preseason, and I think that's the weekend where the week 4 stuff, week 3 happens. So hopefully any injuries will have still happened before that point. So do not double book yourself for that day. Obviously we'll have the dial-in option regardless of whatever's going else on in the world. So our draft will not be affected, hopefully, too much. Get your Hall of Fame nominations in by the AGM as well. Since I've got plenty of free time, having been furloughed myself, I will be able to knock those articles up fairly sharply. So do get your nominations in. Chris has already got his in, and Mike posted his to me earlier as well. So make sure you get those to me. As we've already said, the NFL draft is tonight, and details for the division alignment event will come at a later date.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chris's initial idea, you can tell by the scowl on his face, what was, I think you all know, a London-based logistics challenge like the South Coast-based logistics challenge we had before with Chris. That may be somewhat impacted.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I don't think you've got anything in the pipeline just yet, have you? But you will at some point have a fail-safe where if we get to August or something, we will do something else. Shame, but
yeah, we got to do something. So I think that I don't think that we're going to be out of this anytime soon. So it's going to have to be something remote. But quite what we're going to do there, I simply don't know. It's going to be quite difficult having some sort of competition without actually having to do something outside. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'll have a think about that. We got plenty of time to think about it. We got till September.
Exactly. So. We've got, like I said, we will wait until the latest possible time we can to pivot from your idea.
I like that. We got a big call here from Ben. So good old Ben. Right.
Board game legalization. You know what? Our board game is going to be for up to 6 players, so it's entirely feasible. Can I just say? So
if you had a team of 2.
Well, I was thinking more 6 people play one game, then 6 people play.
Oh, I see.
And the other 6 people play to decide the final one, and whoever gets the most cumulative points, would go on which division would be a good method of doing it.
So you've got to produce this and you've got to send it all to us. That's okay, fine. Right, I tell you what, fail safe. That's the fail safe. Right,
obviously need to get our skates on as well.
That's great because not only is it a good way of testing the game, it's also a good way of testing sort of that's it, getting us warmed up for the year, and we can play it at home. And Ben had a great idea, so there you go.
Thank you, Ben.
That's a top shout there.
Indeed. We have 7 viewers now, so this may be our peak viewers ever, to which we can probably take a lockdown.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, if this is a byproduct of that, by the way, if you're watching us and you have nothing to do with this league, welcome. We did used to do this every now and again. You can follow us on various mediums, but this is probably the one to follow us on most.
Yes.
And we talk all things fantasy football here.
We sure do.
Across the course of the year, we've been playing a long time. This is a 10-year plus fantasy football league.
We're going into our 12th year. Yep.
This is it. So we allegedly know what we're doing by now, a little bit. So, but welcome. And if you are part of the league, then welcome back.
Absolutely.
That's it. You know what kind of content you get from here. But yes, if you're brand new to fantasy football and you're watching this for the first time and you've somehow stumbled across us, welcome. That's it.
Yeah, welcome.
And yes, we do this every week from May till September, January or February or whatever it is. It's a long time. Various mishaps happen along the way that we just talk about. So.
Of course it is, yeah. Like I said, Ben is commenting on the Facebook chat. That's fine. If you want to comment on the YouTube chat as well, we can do that too. So, that was all the news I had. You got any other news there, Chris?
To be honest with you, I said this is the event today. I said nothing else really matters. So
as I said at the top of the show, we have the reverse order here attached to a number. Didn't care, didn't have enough time to find the random number generator that would not spit out the same results. So we're just going to have to roll with the teething problems with this one. But the premise is simple. I have entered an upper and lower limit. I will hit that enter button. It will spit a number out. That number we will identify from this list. And in reverse order, whatever number comes out first will go on the bottom. We will announce where each team is picking in the draft, and we have a little history as well about who picked where and how they did in those seasons. So Chris can not disappoint the fans and wax lyrically about a bit of analysis of each pick. So are you ready to get going, Chris?
I am. I the waxing lyrical is the what I do here. However, I can't see it.
That's okay. So, I will announce it for you, and then. I see you can't see the... Hold on, Chris. I'm going to help you out here. This is the beauty of technology. I'm going to share the link to the thing I've created and send it to you so you can open it yourself.
That's grand. So I can see it in front of me. I'm not flying blind then.
It was this one. And the tab you need is season stats active to see the history, Chris. There you go.
Okay.
And I would just talk everybody through the 2020 draft order stuff. So... let me know when you've got that open, Chris, and we will be ready to reveal the first pick of the last pick of the first round, 12th pick in the LOC draft for 2020.
It's loading. It's doing something.
It's thinking about it.
It's still loading according to this, but that's good.
I can tell you're in it now. There is a squirrel that has appeared.
There we go. Season stats.
Actually,
active.
Apologies. You are apparently an anonymous chinchilla, according to Google.
That's fine. I mean, that sounds just there we go. Draft position. Right, there we go. We have my stats. We are ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see all the teams and stuff there. So here we go then. We will. I haven't updated this for 2019. I've just realised, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it. So here we go. The team that we'll be picking 12th. In the 12th slot, the 2020 OC draft is team number 10 on the list. It is Pakistan. Pakistan will be picking in the 12th spot in the 2020 LOC draft. And if we just look to last year, as we don't have it on the stat sheet, Pat did finish in 10th place last year, obviously, and he was drafting from the He was drafting from the 12th slot last year, so he's in exactly the same spot,
position.
when you're on. We'll add this on right now, and that will update in front of you as well, hopefully, Chris. So Hudderston 2019. We won't do the record for now, but he drafted in the 12th slot. And that was his first time last year drafting in the 12th slot, and it was among his worst seasons. Obviously, Pat did finish with a swiftly moves back to history tab. Come on, fantasy site. A 6-8 record, better than the year before, where he finished 2-12 from drafting in the 5th slot. But what do you make of Pakistan picking in the 12th slot for him?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good dry run last year. I quite like it when you see teams that draft in the same position a couple of years in a row. He does have form for this, of course, and we see this here. Yeah, so he liked the 5th spot. The 5th spot was his comfortable spot. But say 6 and 8 from 12, I don't think it's that bad. I think that when you're down there, at least you get the benefit of the double dip, and that's the biggest thing for him, is that he's got to be able to look at it this year and go, you know what? I've got opportunity to take really 2 quality players, maybe not 2 elite players, but 2 quality players, and get some value out of that, because towards the bottom of the round and the top of the second, you're always going to get, a half decent running back and an elite receiver out of that core. So yeah, say 12. I wouldn't be unhappy with that. So there's a lot to be said for the being at the tail and being at the top. But yeah, that's it. Certainly, he would have learned some lessons from last year, you'd hoped, and can go better than that 6 and 8.
Absolutely. Yeah, Pat famously last year, I think even in the last couple of years, actually, he's had the tough decision of one year he was thinking about drafting Rob Gronkowski, and he just had to do it, and he hated doing it. But in that double header slot, like you said, yes, you're further back. You're not going to get necessarily an elite player, but you do have the benefit of knowing exactly who you're going to be able to take when you're on the clock for 2 picks in a row. So that is a massive help in terms of strategy and how you pick your team. Yeah, we've got Pat there on the number 12 slot. So we'll just check off 10 here so we don't call it again by accident, and we will hit the number generator again, and the generator spits out this time number 9. What a generator. The number next to number 10 is number 9, which is Tom's Tyrants, which means Tom's Tyrants will be picking at the 11th slot in the 2020 LOC draft. I did furiously key some of the stats into the sheet, which you may have seen, Chris, while we were speaking. Unfortunately, of course, Tom's Tyrants was not one of them, so we'll add that on now. Last year, Tom went 6 and 8. Bit of a disappointing season all in all. He drafted from the 6th slot last year, and really, he was in the 7th slot the year before that, 3rd before that, 7th before that. In his career, he has only drafted in the back third twice. 10th in 2012, which is when he went 13 and 1, but did not win the Corona Bowl, and then at the 12th slot in 2015, where he went 7 and 7. So, not too familiar with drafting at the back, but Tom is a coach who has been drafting all over the shop in his illustrious career. Tell me about what you think of him drafting that slot, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters too much for Tom here. I mean, as you say, he's been around the draft board. We look at particularly the 2012 year there, and he drafted from 10th. Statistically the best record he's ever had. So I wouldn't be too concerned about being down the bottom. Again, you benefit from being close enough to the top of each round. Some key rounds, second, fourth, whatever, to be in pole position for some quality players, especially the ones which towards the 4th, 5th, 6th round, makes or breaks your season. There's always going to be someone with value who's going to come out of there. Sure. I don't think it matters for Tom at all. It doesn't seem to matter really where he's drafted. I just think that perhaps for him, 2019 served as a way to get used to the format, perhaps. And once that's adjusted, maybe he can adjust his draft to that. It's rare for Tom to have a couple of down years, and I think after we've seen a losing season, we've seen a winning one more often than not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That 10-4 season in 2018, drafted from 7th there. Drafted from 11th gives him maybe a bit more leverage in the middle rounds to be able to do something.
Yeah, for sure. So we've had a comment on the YouTube. Apparently, I'm kind of quiet. Unfortunately, I have no idea why. I am bound, unfortunately, by my AirPods, so I apologize if it's a bit harder to see me. Perhaps, Chris, I don't know if you could control your input volume, and then I can perhaps boost the desktop audio on my end.
Certainly, there we go. I'll turn that down a little bit.
Okay, so let's just have a fiddle here. Apologies for the in-show technical adjustment.
We will get there. That's it. Once we know what we're doing,
exactly.
With all this, then we'll get there towards the end of the year. Yeah.
Maybe.
So maybe.
You did not sound any quieter, so I apologise, listeners, if your eardrums are about to burst. Ben, please do let me know if that is any better or not. We've also had some comments on the Facebook page, on the Facebook group, sorry. So Patrick, Pat, in response to being at the bottom spot, he has said, "Not again, this is rigged." Bullshit. That's the way it falls sometimes, unfortunately, Pat. But I'm sure you'll do fine next year. Chris, you have responded saying to that. You've done one of your best Phil impressions, which is also true. And I won't say the word on there, but you can see it on the screen, what Pat has said to Phil. And there is a bit of an argument and guffaw going on. So I'm just going to leave that over there. You can go read that if you want, if you're in the league. If you're not, you probably don't want to read it anyway. So we will move on to our next pick then. So that is 2 teams down. Next, we are picking the 10th spot. Where is my generator gone? It's over here. Ben says that's a little better. Okay, so we'll just roll with that.
That'll do.
In fact, you know what? I'll punch it up a little bit more. Ben, just chime in if you do need Chris to pipe down a little more as well. So let's go with that, shall we? Okay, next in the draft order then. Let's hit the number generator. We have number seven, which is the Detonators. The Detonators will be picking in the 10th spot of the LOC draft in 2020. Last year, the Detonators, they finished 5th place overall, bang in the middle with a 7-7 record. So let's just update that for you, Chris, on the accolades thing, which will help you out if I can find the Detonators. There they are, 2019, 7-7 record. Speaking of which, we didn't talk about that actually at the top of the show. With the NFL, their AGM, they changed some rules, of which the regular season is to be expanded by another game and also another club. That means for fantasy, this is one of the discussion points for our AGM. We do have the choice whether we would like to. We could either extend the playoffs and keep, i.e., expand it to 6 teams and keep the regular season finishing where it is, or we could keep the playoff structure as it is, but expand the regular season by another game. But any thoughts on that, Chris? Hot take?
To be honest with you, I would always vote for more games. I like more games. More games is more fun.
But it would be more games, right? In either way, it would either be another playoff round or another regular season game for everyone. Yeah. We will get an extra game in some fashion. It's just how that falls. You think
of that last year, and if they had one more regular season game, Phil would have won the league. So just going to put that one out there.
I'm all for expanding the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. That will be my position. No, I'm joking.
Yes, I mean, expanding the playoffs makes some sense in the fact that you can have more teams, but there is a jeopardy thing, you know. So you do get the four top teams in the right position at the end of the year.
Yeah,
you know, you don't have this sneaky wild card in there. So yeah. As
a sneak preview to the AGM, one of the ideas I have proposed is instead of a straight add 2 more teams into the playoffs. It would actually be an additional team to the playoffs. The regular season champion would get a first round bye, effectively, and you would still have the 4th team being the team with the highest record and points forward after all the division winners. But then the 5th spot would go to just straight whoever scored the most points among the non-playoff teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, see, I mean, to be honest with you, if we agree to do that, I get that, because it gives the regular season champion something that's valuable. Yes, this Viv's rule from last year, which he didn't use. That's it. That's all very well, and to change the draft position on the day of the draft or before is fine. But yeah, it does give something that's valuable to the guy who wins or the team that wins overall. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on the vote. I have to go away and have a think about what we're going to do with that one. But yeah, I mean, it certainly adds an extra dynamic to the playoffs. If you've got a team that's limped over the line, then that's one way to eliminate them earlier than you otherwise would do, I suppose.
Exactly. Like in the real NFL playoffs, they of course have added two teams in there as well. The argument would be, from the NFL point of view, it's more money, right? But that extra team that's getting in, you look at ordinarily how good a 7th team would be getting in, and it wouldn't change the mix all that much. So you're absolutely right there. But we've yabbered on about that for enough. So
I don't care where you were, Viv. That's it. You should have used it, my man. Even if it auto draft put it to number 1, that'd be funny.
If you are not keeping along with the Facebook chat, it's kind of popping. There was more mud being thrown at Phil. We will tell you where your former team is drafting from. And Viv was in Alaska. But you're going to let me know, Viv. That's no excuse. Exactly. Chris was right. Anyway, tell me about the Detonators. So just to recap, 10th spot for Detonators.
Yes.
Last year, they were 7-7, and they drafted from the 4th spot in their history. But Detonators was drafted near the back end a few times. He was 10th in 2014, where he had an 8-6 record. And in 2015 and 16, he was 8th, 7, 7, 5, 9 respectively. And in 2018, also 9th, 8-6. So a fairly good pedigree. I would say most of the Detonators' best seasons have come where he's at the back end of the draft. What do you make of it, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. Apart from that freak year he had Peyton Manning and he went for those 1,700 points. Absolutely. As it, the back end seems to suit him. Say 2018, where obviously he won. He was from 9th. It's not a massive difference. I think when you're in those sort of rounds, you have to take a bit of a gamble on certain players, especially towards the back end of the first. And Ollie likes a gamble. That's one thing we do know. You look at there. It's been reasonably consistent scoring as well. It's 1,500 points from 9th, 1,500 points from 10th. So yes, a couple of 8s in there, but that's when we had keepers and it was all a little bit different. If you look at that, the years we didn't have keepers and where he's drafting from, I think that is definitely a place that can suit him. As I said with Tom, is a guy that can adapt to drafted anywhere, but the stats speak. They really, really do, and. That freak 2018 year where he came out of nowhere to win. A lot of those, mid-round gambles that were going to come good towards the end of the year that he had to make because he was drafting where he was making. That's what did it. So, yeah, I think he'd be reasonably happy with that.
Cool. Okay. So, but then we're in the 10th spot then, breaking news in the LOC. So we're into the single digits now. So next we need to decipher who is going to pick in the number 9th spot. So we're going to fire up our random number generator, and it's pick number 9, which we've already had. I knew this wouldn't be long. Number 3 is the next digit that comes out when I click it again, which means if the Tuckfards return for another season in the LOC, they will not be the first overall pick for the 3rd year in a row. They are instead said picking in 9th. After 2 years of drafting at the first spot, like I said, last year 9 and 5, but it all ended in heartbreak. Phil has drafted in and around the back end quite a bit in his career. So we'll start off from 2011. He was 8th and 8 and 6. 2012 was 7th, 9 and 5. He drafted in the 9th spot in both the 2013 and 14 draft and had 2 of his best years in his career. 11 and 3, 10 and 4. If there's any reason for him to return, it's seeing that stat right there. And he drafted 12th in 2017 with a 5 and 9 record. Chris, what do you make of the Type Fards at spot number 9?
Type Fards, 9th is the magic number, is it not? Look at that. That's it. 1,600 points in his 2 years, drafting from 9th. 9th seems to be the position that he likes. That's it. And we look there. How many winning years has he had in 7th, 8th, or 9th? Well, look at that. Towards the top. 8 and 6, 9 and 5, 11 and 3, 10 and 4, 7th, 8th, 7th, and 9th. That's it. Anything above that, anything below that, usually it's pretty garbage. Alright, that's it. Or certainly starts well and turns to it eventually. But look, I think Phil used his first round pick last year, exactly what he needed to do, did really well. Yes, a couple of freak results, but bombed him out. But I don't think he should be too disheartened with that. As you say, looking at that, that's it. There's every reason to be positive. There's something about that number that he seems to work well with. I'm interested to see when the season comes around as to what he does with it.
Absolutely. So we hope he comes back for at least another year. The league, as we've pointed out, is not quite the same without the Type Fards team in it for a variety of reasons.
Totally agree.
But if he does come back, the stars could be aligning. Finally, at last, maybe this is the season. He can finish off and bury his demons for once. So Type Fards picking number 9. So let's figure out who is picking at number 8. We're going to fire the random number generator again. We get the number 8, which we have not had, and that team is bucking the trend. The newest coach in the LOC, Mike, who joined on draft day last year, no less as well. Haven't quite added his history in, but we'll just read that off because it is, of course, only 1 year. Mike went 7 and 7 last year, and he was drafting from the 2nd spot last year. So as a newbie, he had a bit of a nice start, but he took Alvin Kamara with that pick, so maybe he'll be better off starting by drafting in the 8th spot. What do you make of bucking the trend, picking at 8, Chris?
Well, it's a completely different experience to last year, that's for sure. I think when you get to these mid rounds, you're sort of on the edge of a sweet spot a bit there. I would say that if you've got sort of 4 to 6, then you're looking really good. On the back end of that, 8th is sort of in the Badlands. But you look at where other people have drafted in the past. Have we had any? Just looking here, have we had any league winners from 8th ever?
Let's take a look. So if we start with ADZ, never drafted 8th. Then Necessities never drafted 8th. But Detonators, they've drafted 8th. They went 7, 7, and 5 and 9. Some of these will obviously be including 10-team years as well. Ixan drafted 8th in 2014. Was that one of the years they made the Corona Bowl? I can't remember. Possibly the first of which. But I don't believe he won it that year. My team, Gridiron Gang, drafted from 8th in 2018 and went 3 and 11. Forge Flies, 8th in 2010, 8 and 6. Also 8th in 2012, 6 and 8. And that's the only 2 times you've drafted there, Chris. Moving down, none for the Dream Team. Tuck Fards have drafted at 8th. They went 8 and 6, but that was in 2011. Tom's Tyrants drafted 8th in 2013 and went 6 and 8. Pakistan drafted 8th. They went 9 and 5 in 2017. Pretty good year there. It's the only one so far of the active teams. Cash for Gold was 8th last year and 5 and 9. So looking at the history, you are absolutely on the money there, Chris. 8th does seem to be a bit of a cursed spot.
Yeah, so it's not easy. It's not easy, but hey, look, I know that Mike's going to be doing his prep. I know he's got plenty of time in his hands now.
I'll stop you there. He's actually going to get to do prep more than
that's true. That's true. So yes, absolutely. He's got more than 30 minutes prep, as he quite rightly said. This is true. So yes, do a few mocks. It isn't an easy position to draft from, as we've proved here, but maybe somebody's got to turn the tide, and let's hope it's you.
Yeah, but like you say, a little bit more research. You know, we talk about the 8th spot specifically, but really 7, 8, 9. There's not a lot of difference between those all there. But I guess there is a view that it is maybe harder drafting near the back, and some people prefer the middle, but others do not. So we'll see how it goes for Mike next year. So we'll cut them out of the remaining teams that can be pulled and fire up the random number generator once again for pick number 7. We have the number 11 out, which is You Are Gold, or whatever he's going to decide to call his team name this year, which of course is Coach Ollie Gardner's team. If we look at the accolades, I think he is right at the bottom of the sheet. He is indeed. So he'll be going into his 5th year as a head coach. He has drafted 8th and 9th, which is obviously not too far away from 7th in those years. 6 and 8, 5 and 9, which was how he did last year. So not terrific, but he is always kind of in and around that 8 to 5 win territory, as you can see there. The other 2 years of which 2nd in the draft slot and 12th. So bit of an enigma, perhaps, Chris.
Certainly, I think that it's very difficult to sometimes gauge what he's going to do, but that's not necessarily a problem. Rolling the dice occasionally does pay off. He's been all over the place, as you say, and it's difficult on form to know what's best. But there is a bit of a pattern developing. Now he's been in the league for coming into his 5th year. We say he always, apart from one year, been towards the bottom. So we see a 9, see an 8, see a 7. So it's creeping up a little bit. Again, 7th is a challenge. It's too far towards the bottom to get anything elite, and it's too far in the middle of the 2nd round to get the best. So I think that's why you would struggle. But look, let's be honest, the league has never had more, I would say, elite point scorers. And towards the back end of 7, let's say the best running backs go, you have guys like Michael Thomas, guys maybe like Hopkins now in Arizona, and you think to yourself, I can either take Mike Evans, or you roll the dice at this point and you go, so I'm going to take Pat Mahomes in the 7th pick.
Yeah. Just to look at last year's pick, sorry, Chris, there, you're right. So I took DeAndre Hopkins at 7, which certainly was not the problem with my team last year. Julio Jones was there at 8. He had some really good stretches. Zeke Elliott fell for obvious reasons, but he turned out great at 9. Devontae Adams, outside of that injury, he did great as well. And then there was a few guys at the top of the second that you mentioned who could have gone there as well. So it is not a bad place to be. It's
very important to pick your playmaker, because at this point, there is no turning back. You aren't going to get an awful lot of quality down the stretch. And you're certainly not going to get an awful lot of quality because you're going to miss out on it in the 2nd round. Maybe the 3rd, but I think by then, people's hands are dealt. So it's a tricky one to find the balance, but that's it. You've got to get it right when you're picking. You're picking, middle of these rounds, because there's no second chances here.
No, it's the downside of, it's the upside of your picks are fairly similarly spaced. So if a run happens, you're probably going to be in the middle of that. But if you're in the middle of a run, that's a bad place to be, because you're obviously not taking the premier guy. You get the double headers, they guarantee your roster. It can only take a few picks to completely blow up your strategy, or it affects. So it is a more difficult place to draft from, but I would say the reward is also higher as well.
Definitely.
So that is half the picks down. So we are into the top half of the draft order now. We see on the left here, we still have you, the league winner last year, Chris. Left, we have Ben, the league runner-up, 2nd, and Ross's team, who came 4th last year. He's remaining. Dream Team, they're there as well, who just missed out on the playoffs. Bare Necessities, and also my team still remaining. Who will be the next team revealed to draft at number 6? We've already had number 8, I believe. Let's hit the number generator again. 10, I think we've also already had. This is what I was afraid of all along. 7 has also already gone. 6, finally we got one. So it's 6. The 6th team last year will be drafting at 6 this year. It is Bare Necessities. Bare Necessities, obviously one of the other founding teams in the LOC. If we take a look at their history in the league, Moving up here, last year, how did they do? They did 6-8 last year, drafting from the 5th spot. And the last few years, they've drafted in a similar spot, 4th and 5th as well. In each of those years, they were 8-6 in 2017, 7-7 and 18, 6-8 last year. And they have drafted from the 6th spot in 2013, where they went 5-9, but around that. So they are quite familiar drafting in that range. But they've done okay there. They've not lit the world on fire. I don't think you could say. What do you make of it, Chris?
No, but you know what you're going to get, and that's the thing. From that position, you know you're going to get extremely solid draft. Being halfway, this position suits Benicessa because that's it. I think that drafting wise, it's solid. Team is solid. Dave's selection is solid. Everything is solid. But that's it. When you're solid, you're not really going to get past that position. Now, I thought last year that they were criminally underrated and their draft was exceptionally good, except by the fact they just found themselves in the wrong division. I think this year, draft from a similar place, doing the stuff that Dave does every year. That's it. Putting together a decent roster. I think that really does suit them. I think that Dave's will be very happy with that. It gives a very balanced draft, and yeah, that's it. That's one thing that can always be said for his teams. His record speaks for itself over the last few years. That's it. You're going to get a solid team that's around the 500 mark, if not just a little bit above or a little bit below. But since 2014, you look at those 5 years in a row with winning, 4 years in a row with winning records, one with parity and one just below last year. And that team last year didn't deserve 6 and 8. Didn't deserve it.
You're very correct there. So yeah. My dad will be in familiar territory once again. So
definitely.
Let's hit the number generator until we get this time. Number 3, I believe we've already had. We have number 4. We have not those. So Ross's team comes off the board now. Ross will be drafting at pick number 5 in the 2020 draft. If we pan to how he's done it in the last few years, and indeed before he retired and unretired, of course. So never drafted in the 5th slot before, but he has drafted in the 6th slot. His unretired years in 2015 went 6 and 8, and for what it's worth in 2010 drafted from the 7th spot 6 and 8 as well. Over the last year, drafted at the back end of the order at 10th. Auto draft, I believe, went 9 and 5. Outside of that, not a lot to speak of. He's been right at the top of the order in the other 3 years since he's come back. 7-7 in 2016 with the first overall pick, 2017 4 and 10 with the first pick, and 2018 6 and 8 from the second pick. So on the face of it, you would perhaps even say that maybe being a bit further back is a blessing in disguise.
Possibly. Look, I'm not going to be too cutting here, but perhaps the auto draft was the blessing in disguise. Sorry, Ross, man. I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to draft from these positions, and say 5th is a good position to draft from, that's it. Make sure you get it right. That's it. Because last year, the selection of the team was absolutely brilliant from 10th. Rightly or wrongly, that's it. The auto draft did its job. And pick the best available at all times. I would suggest that this year, just follow what the auto draft does, best available at all times, because starting from there, you're going to get somebody good in the first round, you're going to get someone reasonably good in the second round, you're going to get someone extremely good in the third round. So that is what counts. And I think last year it proved when you had some decent playmakers, some real decent point scorers, and you had them early. That Ross put together a really, really good team, and eventually and coached them well, because largely because he left them to their own devices. Didn't change a lot because nothing needed to be changed. That's it. I think that's probably the one thing he needs to chase this year as well.
Yeah, let's give him credit for that trade as well, which worked out magnificently for him. So had a real good year. Was in the zone, you would say, last year.
Definitely.
Made the playoffs for the first time, I believe, as well, since maybe 2009 or something like that. Certainly since he unretired. So at the 5th spot, almost guaranteed to get a good player, and not necessarily the worst place to be either. So we have 4 teams left. Forge Flyers, Ixan, the Dream Team, and Gridiron Gang, who will be picking a number 4 in 2020. Number 10, we've already had Number 7, we've had 6, I believe we've had. So 1, 2, 5, and 12 were the numbers, which we just got a 2. It's Iksan. He'll be drafting a pick number 4 in the 2020 LOC draft. Ben has won the title. He's had many a good year in recent season. He is renowned for his draft day preparation. I'm sure he uses code and Python. I've been seeing some things on Reddit that maybe I'm picking exactly what Ben is doing, but you can't knock it. Whatever he's done is working. He had a 10-4 record last year, drafting from the 11th spot, making the Corona Bowl once again. 7-7 the year before that at 11, 8-6 in 10th, 8-6 in 11th, 8-6 at 9th, 8-6 at 8 in the years going back to 2014. The only time he's drafted this high really was in his formative years in the league. 2010, 3rd spot, 8-6. 2012, 6th spot, 8-6 and 8, and even that's a bit far off that. And 2013 was 5th with 9 and 5. But really, you look at this, and what you can see from it is really that Ben is going to do well wherever he drafts.
Totally agree. The spreadsheets work, and that's the thing. You look at it. You look at the numbers in the cold light of day right now, and you look at the extremely. Consistent scoring over the years. You know what you're going to get with this team. You know you're going to get a good drive. You know you're going to get a solid team once again. It's like Dave's team. You know you're going to get a solid team, and they just go and chase the points and grind it away. Yes, they'll make the playoffs some years, most years, and so they should with a record like that. Yeah, and I don't think, as you say, it matters where Ben drafts from. You know, the probabilities of some of these players and some of the things that he does will test its toe on the day. So yeah, I think maybe for him, it's not necessarily about the draft, although he'll probably have a good one again. But it's about keeping that consistent scoring up, and yeah, that's it. There's no doubt that if he does, then he's always going to be in the hunt for the title.
For sure. Yeah, I think. Certainly when you're at the back end, you have more of the players to pick from. It's a good spot for him because we do see him go off map in those picks.
Definitely.
At the top, yes, he'll obviously have a preferred player there. Maybe it does change a little bit where he's a bit further back in the second pick, so we'll see. But as you said, until it doesn't work, you've got to assume it does work. With Ben, so another good year probably set to come. So we have 3 left, 1, 5, and 12. Hopefully we'll hit one of those numbers on the random number generator. We have indeed. We've just got number 5, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the dream team.
How's it me and you at the top?
1st and 12th left to go.
Roll the dice. Roll that dice.
Yeah, but before we get to that, the dream team at number 3 for the 2020 LOC draft. If we find the dream team on here we go. Last year they were 7th. They were drafting from the 9th spot. They have drafted in the 3rd spot twice before. 2012 they went 10 and 4, and 2014 they went 9 and 5. They have drafted near the start. In the very first year, they were at spot number 2, where they went 6 and 8. All other years, the earliest they have been is 6th. 6th in 2018, they were 11 and 3. 7th in 2013, 4 and 10. And in years through 2015-17, they were either 11 or 10, went 8 and 6, 8 and 6, and 4 and 10. So I guess you could look at this and say he does typically have his better years where he's nearer the top of the order.
Yes, I mean, I think the last few years. I mean, you look at last year. Say he's sort of leveled it out. So the year before was the regular season win, and then before that fell off the board a bit. But look, I think with Viv is that I don't think he's really had a problem with getting the draft right. It's just across the course of the year that perhaps is the thing to look at. So yeah, I started going from 3rd. I drafted from 3rd last year. You have to be able to go with the elite player that you pick and hope that works out and hope that he is the guy. And it worked out for me last year. But you are going to get someone who's going to be excellent in that position. And I think perhaps that little bit extra elite player will do the world of wonders. And push him onto that position where he can compete for the playoffs again. But yeah, there's no doubt there. I think that he's going to be absolutely fine, and I think that he'll favour that.
Absolutely. I think
as opposed to being at the bottom.
Yeah, he'll relish being back at the top of that order. He likes getting that star player.
Definitely.
As he goes through the draft, obviously, he's a bit more of a risk taker with the players he takes, but I think that strategy is much more underpinned when you can get a guaranteed solid guy right at the top. So, Dream Team pick in third. We have 2 teams remaining. I'm going to set the over-under on 1 minute for the amount of time it's going to take for me to get 1 or 2 on this.
Come on!
12 on this random number generator.
I've never drafted from the front.
With your permission, Chris, should we just make the lower limit 1 and the upper limit 2 to make simplicity? You say at 1, I'll be number 2.
Let's do it. Why not?
And whoever is picked, it will be the number 2. Whoever is not picked will be the number 1. Here we go. 1 and 2 set. The team drafting number 2 in the 2020 LOC draft it's me, Gridiron Gang, will be drafting number 2
oh dear.
in the 2020 LOC draft, which means Chris, the champion, also gets the crowning pick of the 2020 LOC draft.
Well, now.
Before we get to you, we will start with my team, which is a bit of a sorry tale, but we'll look at it nonetheless. So let's find the accolade on here. So my team, last year I drafted in 7th and went 3 and 11. Not my best, but I did draft at number 2 in 2017 and went 9 and 5. I've also had 2 years where I drafted first, 4 and 10 and 8 and 6. So not a lot you can glean from there. And 2 more years where I was 4, went 8 and 6 and 6 and 8. But really, I'm a complete enigma as well. I could draft at the back and have a decent year, or draft near the front at the decent year. What do you make of Gridiron Gang picking at number 2 in 2020?
I think your recent history suggests where you would prefer to draft. I think anything from 2014 onwards, where you've been nearer the top, you've had a positive year. You've been in those badland positions, those 7th, 8s, and haven't done overly well. I think that this year you need a turnaround, and the way to do that turnaround is by being able to pick someone who's going to be able to score one hell of a lot of points every week. And if that's not the number 1 pick, which I think you could probably suggest at the moment, you're going to have to say it's either Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
Then you're going to get either one of those 2 guys. So that's a real shot in the arm for you. And say first pick is a bit of poison chalice, perhaps. I'll find out this year. But yeah, your best year for a long time was 2017, and that was drafted from 2nd. And yeah, I think that's possibly the remedy to the last couple of years for you. Is being back up there. So yeah, certainly being up the top is where you seem to prefer to be able to draft. And yeah, as I said, that's going to be able to get you one hell of a player.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I am definitely in that proponent thinking of I'd rather just smash that first overall pick and then try to get through the rest of the draft as best as possible. And we all know my love of playing the waiver wire. It's easier to get the Holy Trinity when you get the 1/3 of it straight off the top of the draft.
Certainly.
I'd like to say. So, so we'll be looking forward to drafting at that spot. Looking at the Facebook comments just before we get to you, Ben says, "Watch us. I bet you chose the seed Nath rigged." And Tom says, "I heard the show isn't even live, filmed in advance and edited to get the numbers they want." Chris, I don't know how we can dispel those rumors to convince everyone this is live. It's
live because you watch the earlier bit of the show. It looked like we didn't know what we were doing. So
the technical errors would be edited out if it was a pre-recorded show. A good point. So now, yes, that does mean, Chris, you are picking at number 1, and this. In previous years, we haven't really known who will be taking up Warren overall. I think this is probably going to be the most obvious, the only year perhaps, in fact, where it's going to be completely transparent who you are taking. As he was a key member of your roster in 2019, it will be Christian McCaffrey in all likelihood, barring any unforeseen events. And looking at your team history. Obviously, last year you drafted at third, 9-5 with the title. Year before that, third, 7-7. Year before that, fourth, 11-3. You've also drafted at fourth in 2013, where you went 8-6. And really, you could probably say your better years as well come near at the top of the order. What do you think if you keep picking?
I certainly agree with that. It's strange that I've never ever picked in a round with double digits, and that's still the case now. In the 12 years we've been doing this, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I've been reasonably fortunate to have that, but I think
you've
that's
not even been ninth.
No, that's it. No, I've only ever got to 8th and been above, which is crazy, really. Yeah, look, the last few years have been a real return to form, I suppose, if there was ever a return to form. But it's been better towards the top for sure. You know, I think that when you get the chance to have a punch at some of the best players that the league has to offer, it does help you out. I make there's no exception to that last year. You know, so I got Christian McCaffrey with a 3rd round pick, which was absolutely absurd, and he went on to have a crazy season. And that to me is sort of where, you know, so going with established guys is a dangerous precedent, because you know some years you know that they're going to be good, and some years they just don't return to the sort of form that you expect. And that's why maybe coming down the list a little bit, you know, so that you might find yourself in a better position perhaps. But yeah, I mean, to be first overall is great. I've never been there. It should be really interesting to try my luck from that position. Yes, it's a big gap between the first pick and the next one, but I suppose the trade-off there is that you get to pick the best player in the league in your view. So yeah, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. It should be really good. And so you know, I think when you have a crack at it, you know, there's only one way to find out if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I do know that yeah, that's it. I got some prep to do now. So
indeed, and as we all know from what I posted the other day, mock drafts are for some reason open.
I'm not sure about that.
If you want to start now, I would not advise it, but not until at least the next few days, at least. Anyway.
No, seriously. Wait till the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so we now have the finalized 2020 LOC draft order. Just to read that off again, going top to bottom. So Forge Flyers will have the first overall pick of the 2020 LOC draft, followed by Gridiron Gang at 2, the Dream Team at 3, Ixan at 4, Ross will be drafting at 5, followed by Bare Necessities at 6, Ollie Gardner right in the middle there as well at 7, bucking the trend at 8, the Tuck Farts in his golden spot if he chooses to come back for another year, number 9. But Ednators at 10, Tom Torrance at 11, and Pakistan at 12. Yeah, we've got some exciting months to come in terms of the football and fantasy calendar. But yeah, there you go. That's the L Draft Reveal Magnifico for another year. Thanks for joining, Chris.
Welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we will both be watching the NFL draft tonight. Let's
Definitely
get some banter on the chat for whoever is staying up for that. So other than that, it's been good to see you again. We'll be back, I'm sure, in a few weeks, Chris, to do the AGM recap. Yeah,
we'll be there. That's it. Just between now and then, just have a think about some of the topics that have been brought up. So they're on the group. If you need a recap as to what we've got, then I'm sure Nathan can provide that. But yeah, there's the more voices in the mix, the better the democracy is, the better the league is as a result. So just make sure you got a view. It doesn't matter if it's a view that's contrasting to somebody else's view. Have a view, stick to it, and we'll have a great chat in May sometime.
Yeah, for sure. And if you have any ideas for the AGM as well, please do let me know. There is an open floor session at the end, but if we get it in there beforehand, it gives some people some time to think about it. We're more likely to be able to enact something quicker than if it pops up in the open floor section. Some few final comments we have in the chat is draft picks are already being floated for trade. Has seemed to express his interest in trading out of that number 4 slot, to which Tom has said, more to the point, who has to trade for pick 4. So I don't know what's going on. We're being accused of cheating again, Chris.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not really too sure what's going on there, so that's it.
We don't have to do this. We really don't want us to, but you know.
This is it. Absolutely. That's it. You know, I have to say, that's it. That there was completely random. That's it. I know people have their conspiracies, but that was completely random. I'm literally sat in a pair of shorts in my study. I've got absolutely nothing going on here. That's it. We haven't recorded this beforehand. We haven't done one before all this, just to make sure the numbers were right. That's it. That was completely off the bat. So, yes, don't slag us off. We didn't mean to do that. If we'd have come in 11th and 12th, it'd have been well. But yeah, that didn't happen. That happened completely by random. So.
Yeah, it did. Chris couldn't see the screen, but you all could, and you could tell I was just mashing the button until it spit out a number we didn't have. So, one other news item actually that I forgot to put on the thing, I did message into the chat a few weeks ago that Becky has done put together a quiz that she's going to do for the LOC. There is an NFL round in there as well. So I will let you know the date. She is feeling better now, so that will be soon. Perhaps as soon as this weekend, if not. Ben thinks there's some deep state going on here. Well, you try and drain this swamp, you're not going to find much, Ben. And with that, I hope you all have a very good weekend, including you, Chris. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the draft as well, and we will see you in a few weeks. Goodbye, everybody.